Well, hello and welcome to episode 93 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. Michaela, it was just Labor Day weekend here in the United States. We celebrated all of the people who do all of the jobs by taking the day off on Monday. So, what did you get up to? It was a long weekend. Anything fun?
Yes, I went to the beach. I saw my brother. That was awesome. I went down to Myrtle Beach, which
Mm,
I had always thought was just known for the Carolina Shag movie, Myrtle Beach.
yeah.
But it's known for so much more. The beach was beautiful, and it actually wasn't that crowded. I don't know. It was
Mm.
really lovely to catch some waves and hang with the family. Um, and watch a lot of series. Finished up Severance. um
Okay.
started oh my gosh, started the new Lord of the Rings, the Ring of
Yes.
Power
Hmm.
that came out.
The first two of those dropped, I think, on Friday night, maybe something,
Yeah,
something for the weekend. So they came out. Yeah. So, watch those. So, what about any good drinks? Were there good drinks flowing down in Myrtle Beach?
there were a couple of good drinks. We lots of sweet stuff. There was a lot. There was a shark bite that basically looks like our blood in the water. I
Okay.
think you guys can all look back. It was uh, June of 2021. We covered blockbuster films. We covered Jaws,
Hmm.
and the drink was basically the exact same thing, except it actually had like a little gummy shark in it, that you could go find with your mouth.
Oh.
And that was cool. That was neat. Um, yeah, it was good. Lots of We did a lot of Aperol spritzes though, because
Okay.
that's the
That
thing to be doing
that
on
is
a
the
summer day.
That is the perfect thing for the summer. Yeah, and it is still hot here, of course, absolutely. Um, yeah, we had some friends in from out of town because we went to see a concert. Michaela, we went to the concert. You didn't even tell people about that. We went and saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That was pretty exciting. That was a good
Sure
time.
was.
There's been a lot of music in our lives lately. Not so many movies as we're waiting for kind of this next slate of releases to come up, and we start getting more into Oscar season, award season. I think like the Venice Film Festival is going on right now as we speak. So, going to be pretty excited about getting that list of films that we're going to have to start covering. But yeah, caught up Lord of the Rings, liking it a lot so far. It looks gorgeous. Every shot's just like, hey, remember how much money we spent on this? Yep, here it is in full glory. So,
Yep.
uh, so yeah, so be watching that at home and let us know if you're checking out any of those new series, and let us know what you did over Labor Day. But for now, Michaela, we are going to be going back to the year 1982/2019. We are going to be talking about one of the most famous, one of the most beloved, one of the best sci-fi just masterpieces from Ridley Scott. So we're gonna have to take a quick break. We made up four cocktails. Go back to the lobby bar, listen about the first three, but we're coming with the big guns this week, the Deckard. So we're gonna take a quick break and we will be right back to mix up this week's cocktail.
So this week's cocktail comes from mantrippin.com. It was created, this cocktail, it's kind of an homage. There's a whole group of cocktails that pay homage to both Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049.
Hmm.
This one was created by Ezra Starr. Ezra, you're a genius. We love this cocktail. It is called the Deckard. It is beautiful. It is really interesting looking, and it's also not super hard to make. Um,
Hmm.
so we're gonna
Yeah.
just dive right in.
That's right. Yeah. If you are a fan of matcha tea, you probably have most of the stuff to get there. You might need to pick up a bottle of pineapple juice. But yeah, otherwise, this one is not too hard to put together. And like Michaela said, this was a big spread that they put together for Blade Runner. It was when 2049 came out. Johnnie Walker made like a limited edition of the exact kind of that angular squared bottle that we see in Blade Runner, and they put together all these cocktails with some very famous and very excellent cocktail makers to put these together. We actually did four cocktails for this, but we covered the first three in the lobby bar, for the Labor Day weekend. So go back and listen to that. You can find out those first three. But today we are making the Deckard, which is the most apt, as we're going to be going on a journey with Mr. Deckard as we hunt for some replicants here as we get into the movie. But this cocktail, delicious, easy to put together, just like Michaela said. Take it away.
All right. We're going to start with 1.5 ounces of the Johnnie Walker Black Label. We're going to add half an ounce of fresh lime juice, 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. For anybody who has never listened to this podcast, welcome. We use a lot of simple syrup here, and it's real simple. It is equal parts sugar and water. Just heat it up until the sugar melts and you are good to go.
Mhm.
We're going to do 2 ounces of fresh pineapple juice and then a teaspoon of matcha powder. Now, matcha powder comes in like 37-gallon tubs. Get a smaller one than that, unless you love matcha or you already
Mhm.
have it
Mhm.
because you love
Mhm.
matcha tea. But that was the only part that we thought was a little bit harder to find if you don't normally use matcha powder, because
Mhm.
you're going to get like half a gallon of it. And then for the garnish, we had a whole star anise, and then a really pretty purple flower. You doesn't matter which one. It doesn't have to be edible. You're not going to eat it. You're just going to put it on top of the drink. So
Mhm.
those are the ingredients. Um, and I thought this was actually really easy to put together because you're going to combine all of the ingredients into a cocktail shaker. You're going to shake it really well. You want to make sure to shake it real well because that matcha powder, you want it to really infuse into the drink itself.
Mhm.
We had to shake it like 2 times longer than we thought because the matcha would kind of just sit at the top and it would continue to float at the top. So you just need to do a really good job of that. And then you're going to strain it into a coupe glass, and then garnish it with that beautiful star anise and a purple flower. And it doesn't have to be purple, but it really does set it off because the color of this drink is like this beautiful dark emerald green.
Mhm.
It really looks stunning with the color contrast.
Yeah, it's really pretty, and like Michaela said, one of the tricks we had was getting that matcha powder. It kind of clumps up, I think, because of the ice. It kind of just like freezes together. So what you might want to do is actually put the ingredients in and give it a shake, and then add your ice and shake it up to give it a chance to kind of hydrate in the rest of the stuff. But yeah, you pour it out. It is green. It is beautiful, and then you take a sip of it. And I don't know, like you expect in my mind when I see something green, I expect it to taste, I don't know, kind of like vegetal or something like that because it's
Yeah.
this real like lush green. But no, this is not that. It's all pineapple and lime. You get like some notes of that matcha in there, and way hidden below all of that is Johnnie Walker Black Label. I don't even know how they do it because if you drink just a drink of Johnnie Walker Black Label, you're like, this is this is a Scotch. I can definitely taste that. But in these cocktails, I don't know. It played so well with all of these other flavors. It's just kind of providing this backbone where it wasn't like super boozy. It wasn't super whiskey-y. It was just, I don't know. It was just like I don't know, something delicious going on. And I think that's probably part, by Ezra Starr and the makers of the other cocktails for sure. But I think Johnnie Walker is just really good at cocktails.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so it's the lesson here is that everything goes with Johnnie Walker, right?
That's right.
Because we've really run the gamut of something that's very boozy forward with the Hive, which we covered in the lobby bar. We've done kind of a take on the whiskey sour. We've
Hmm.
done this other with the snake dancer. We added some frothiness and put together this other, very herbal kind of fruity concoction almost. We've done it all now with the Johnnie Walker Black Label, and it's all been really good. And this one I really liked because it's so strange looking and
Hmm.
yet really delicious. I mean, we could have done a lot more than the 1 or 2 drinks that we did of this, but we were good
Yeah, yeah,
because we
definitely.
still had to watch the movie.
And I think it's worth searching out the matcha just for like the uniqueness of this being like so green. You could probably make this without the matcha and just do the pineapple juice and the Johnnie Walker. If you wanted to make it a little bit easier for just a weeknight and throw this together in your glass, it would still probably be real delicious. But definitely want to give this one a try and definitely give it a try. You're going to need something that's really good and strange and delicious if you're out hunting replicants, which is exactly what we're going to be doing this week as we go back to a classic. So, Michaela, grab the cocktail shaker, grab the Johnnie Walker Black. Let's mix up another one of these and take a quick break to be right back and talk about this week's film, Blade Runner.
Spoiler warning for Blade Runner. If you've not yet seen any of the Blade Runners, congratulations. You are sorry, I don't mean that. If you've not
Wow.
seen any of the Blade Runners, no, if you've not seen any of the Blade Runners, you should really press pause. You should go drink one of the 4 cocktails that we have made. You should set up your favorite version because there's like 37 of them and watch
Mm-hmm.
it and come back and talk about it with us because we are definitely going to get into it. We're going to get into all the versions. We're going to get into all the cocktails. but there's going to be lots of spoilers. So you have been warned.
That's right. Yeah, we did four cocktails, which is almost as many versions of cocktails as there are versions of Blade Runner. But the original Blade Runner, of course, it came out in 1982 and was directed by Ridley Scott. And it of course stars Harrison Ford as the replicant hunting, ex-replicant hunter, Deckard, in our story here. And there's some other characters we're going to get into as we kind of weave our way through the story. But Michaela, as I mentioned, there were a lot of versions of this, and the one that we watched in reference to doing this podcast, and I think the one that most people hold as like the kind of the, I don't know, the pinnacle of Blade Runners, is the Blade Runner Final Cut, which came out in 2007 and can be found on HBO.
Yes, it can. And I think the reason why it is thought of as the most accurate of all, or the most canon of all storytellings of this Blade Runner story, is because it's the one where Ridley Scott still retained sole discretionary say in what was presented. And so there's a couple of differences. It's really not a lot of time. It's not like we've added, it's not like in Lord of the Rings where we went from a 3-hour film to a 5-hour film or anything like that.
Mhm.
There's not a
Right.
lot of time added, but there are some very specific shots that Ridley Scott wanted, and a dream sequence that he wanted added in and things like that. And so we're going to get into all of it. Hopefully we'll do it justice because we know this is a huge cult following. Yeah, so we're gonna do our very best. Try not to be mad at us if we get it wrong. There we
That's
go.
right. That's right. And one of the kind of endearing things about Blade Runner, and why people like it so much is because Blade Runner as the science fiction, classic, there's so much kind of symbolism and foreshadowing and things that you don't pick up on, and things that people have analyzed, which is why this is considered to be one of the greats, because at the time that it came out, people didn't really understand it. They're like, this is kind of slow. It's pretty dark. There's not like much action going on. What is this? People couldn't really make heads or tails of it. So when it came out, it was pretty cool critically, and it was pretty cool in the box office. It did not make a lot of money. I mean, obviously you watch it and it's visually it's very kind of breathtaking the way that this world was built out, and it received 2 Oscar nominations for art direction and visual effects. But people didn't know about the story. Was this any good? I don't know. But then as time went on, people were like, yeah, this was really pretty great. Yeah, this was really pretty great. And yeah, this is kind of genius. And that's one of the things about Blade Runner is, you can't watch it one time and get all of it out of it. It's something that you have to watch and think about and then rewatch and see if what you think about, changes. And it's been a long time since I'd watched this, so it was kind of interesting to go back and see it, with a couple years since the last time that I'd seen it. But what do you think, Michaela? Kind of the historical impact of this thing, just generally here before we started to get into the story a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think the cinematography was amazing, and I think that was not in question when it did come out. People were raving about some of the shots and how, this is it was filmed in 1982, but it's taking place in 2019. Looks nothing like the 2019 we all remember, but it's this very like dark, gritty, you know, big city, and you still have like Coke commercials and there's still advertisements everywhere, but we have flying cars and all sorts of things like that now, but it's super dark, and that was not lost. I think people were like, I have no idea what this world is, but I kind of like it. I don't understand maybe what's happening in the film, but I do really have an appreciation for that aspect of it. But I think you're right. I think the reason why people revere this is because it does age well, in the sense that as we get closer and closer to making thinking computers and what that
Hmm.
means for the world as a society, what does that mean for the computer, and and it's interesting because we've done this on the back end of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, where
Hmm.
that had a different take on what to do with what happens with computers when you make them kind of salient. um uh so it's interesting in that way, and the fact that there's a lot of debate around who's a replicant, who's not a replicant, how does it end, how do we, there's a lot of that. We'll get into that, but there's so much of those questions, I think,
Hmm.
and the reason why, Ridley Scott kept trying to push and have his director's cut, a final cut version out there for the masses to take and imbibe, really speaks to that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, why don't we get into this one a little bit here? So the film opens up. It is this really gorgeous, gorgeous shot. You get kind of two gentlemen sitting at opposite ends of this table. There's this big, huge picture window, and behind them, there's this ceiling fan that looks like I don't know, it's probably like 400 feet wide. It's so gigantic in the shot. It looks incredible. But basically, what we're finding out here is that one of the gentlemen is interrogating the other gentleman, trying to figure out, what's going on. You have this weird camera pointed at the guy's eyeball. You're like, what is happening? Why are these questions so weird? What is going on? But we find out a couple of key things. There were some beings. They're called replicants that are made by the Tyrell Corporation. They have basically been created to more or less go do all of the things that humans can't do, right? They're at like this mining colony that is unfit for humans, but we can send these replicants out there to do it. But six replicants hijacked the ship and came back to Earth, which is bad news. It's not the first time something like this has happened. So we have people that are hunting the replicants, and the way that you identify them is by going through this interview, and that's what we have going on here. It kind of sets up the story, and yeah, that is how we are going to be introduced to both our villains, I guess, kind of villains, kind of not, in this, the replicants, and it's going to take us to our replicant hunting team, and that is going to be led by none other than Harrison Ford, Deckard.
That's right. So, and I love the scene where we meet Deckard because it's a really rugged. It's Los Angeles in 2019, and it looks like a real hellhole. I don't know how different it is, because it's got a lot of smoke. There's a lot of like smokestacks above the city.
Hmm.
But there's a Chinatown, and he's there trying to eat. He's arguing with the guy. He's asking for four of whatever he wants, and the guy's like, "No, you can get two." And he's like, "Fine, I just want whatever. Just give me some noodles." And he's sitting there, and he's shoveling the stuff in his mouth, and it actually looks really tasty. Um, but I mean, there's tons of people around, and then he gets kind of accosted by uh one of his old kind of work buddies, played by Edward James Olmos. His name is Gaff, and he's like, "Hey, Deckard, I need you to come with us." And he's like, "I don't do this anymore. I don't need to come with you." But they end up taking him into this police station, and I guess Deckard's old boss says, "Hey, we've got these six replicants that have escaped. They're in Maine society here in LA. We've tracked them here, but we need your help to find them."
Hmm.
And you don't really know why Deckard is no longer with the Force. You don't know why he's no longer a Blade Runner, but he was the best. And the second best was in the opening shot that we saw with this interview that did not go well. So the way I guess the machine works is it helps you identify like an empathetic response, and if you don't have an empathetic response, then you're a replicant. They should have just asked them to yawn. It sounds like it's
Yeah.
also a test for sociopaths. So um but this guy who was a replicant, it showed on the screen that he was a replicant, and he ended up shooting the other gentleman who was telling this, or who was giving the test, and he was the
Hmm.
second best. So they're like, "Deckard, we really need you, and if you don't do this, then something really bad's gonna happen." Like, they threaten him, and it's kind of vague, but Deckard finally reneges and says, "Okay, I'll go search for these folks. What I need, where do I need to go to start?" Right.
Right. Yeah. It kind of at the end of it, he realized he wasn't going to get out of having to do it. They do have some nice Johnnie Walker there in the police station or wherever that is in the office. But yeah, he is back on the hook for tracking down these replicants. So first stop is going to be the Tyrell Corporation, which is where these replicants are made and manufactured. You go there, obviously we meet Eldon Tyrell, who is, I don't know, the president or CEO, founder of this thing. But we also meet Rachel, who's played by Sean Young. She's there. She's kind of the I don't know, kind of like the receptionist, secretary, tour guide, slash person that knows everything about the Tyrell Corporation, and that's who Deckard is talking to. And Tyrell comes in and he's like, "Hey, I heard you were the best. You were the best Blade Runner. Can you do the test on Rachel?" You know, so he does, and he goes through the test. And one of kind of the neat things here that sets this up and really kind of gets this like paradigm thing going is, Deckard says usually it takes, 25, 30 questions if you can do like some background research on them to figure out if they're a replicant. But it took like 100 questions to figure out that Rachel was a replicant. And Tyrell's like, yeah, I don't think she's figured it out yet. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. Which harkens back to the book that this is based on. Do androids really know that they're androids or not? Right.
Right.
so
Right.
so so that's kind of setting up the base. You're like, oh, okay, so obviously the replicants that came back to Earth to take over, they obviously knew that they were replicants, but then you have replicants like Rachel who don't know, they haven't figured it out yet that they're
Right.
not really a real human.
Well, not only that, um, but that these Nexus 6 replicants, they're the most lifelike or whatever, but they also, because they've also been smart enough to realize that this isn't right or whatever, they've had these uprisings, they cap their life at like 5 years. And so, you don't know. So this poor Rachel, right? You don't know how old she is. You don't know that she knows, that she knows that she doesn't know that she's a replicant, and she doesn't know how much time she has, which is kind of the human experience. And that's the whole, you know, kind of dichotomy that we have, which is, she's not human, but does that matter at this point?
Hmm.
Because does she still have value and can, in and of herself, right? And so Deckard, it's an interesting interview because they lower the lights. They have these really cool window shades that look very normal to us now, but that scene is really amazing. The way that they've got this beautiful landscape in the back and like of the cityscape, and it's really interesting and neat and yet gritty at the same time because the sun is kind of setting as they lower these shades, and he's asking all these questions. She's smoking a cigarette. I'm not into smoking at all, but it still looks really cool the way she's doing it.
Hmm.
He starts asking these very strange questions. She's answering in just as a strange way. But you can see that there's something between the two, between Decker and Rachel, and you don't know yet kind of where that's going. Um, so Deckard, he's a smart guy. He just kind of leaves this alone. He certainly does not explain to Rachel that she's a replicant. Um, he goes to Leon's hotel room. So Leon is the guy who basically shot up the other Blade Runner
Yeah,
in that
yeah, he.
interview at the front of the beginning of the film. Deckard goes and tries to look through all of the stuff that he does have.
Hmm.
Um, and he finds
Yeah.
some really interesting that hotel room, that whole scene is real weird.
That's right. Yeah, he is searching Leon's kind of a apartment room or hotel room. They're trying to figure it out, like Michaela mentioned, is the replicant from the beginning here. And he finds some photographs that you're going through. You're like, okay, what's the deal with these photographs? And he also finds a little scale, and he thinks is like a fish scale. So he's going down to like this like fish market sort of thing, where they're basically making replicants of these animals, and they're like, no guy, that's not a fish scale, that is a snake scale. That's over here. This guy, he's like the best snake maker. So he's showing him the photos of Leon, and he kind of gets turned on. He's like, no, that snake was sold to this lady at like this nightclub, strip club, dancing club kind of thing, who's dancing with this replicant snake. And so we're on our way to make our next kind of touch point with our next replicant. So this is what is her name? Her name is Zora.
Zora.
Yeah, so Zora is the snake dancer, which is where we get the name for our lobby bar cocktail. He's in there talking. One of the interesting things that she says to him is, if I could afford a real snake, I wouldn't have to be dancing here. But she wouldn't have to be dancing anywhere because bad news, she's a replicant. The chase is on. She like busts out of there in like this clear, like rain jacket sort of thing. They are running through the streets. It looks like some trouble for Deckard, but he gets the one up on her. But bad news is that our other replicant, Leon, shows up kind of at the last minute.
Yeah. So she's running through. Yeah, this outfit is really interesting because it looks like a rain jacket, but it's basically a coat that and it's not raining. She just I guess it's just see-through. And I don't know.
It keeps
She's
2019 off of you, I
it's
guess.
2019, folks. It's a weird version of 2019. But so she's running through this like mall looking thing. He's Deckard is there. He's ambushed by Leon, who, Deckard's trying to, get the goods on Zora with a gun, knocks the gun out of Deckard's hand. Leon's about to kill Deckard, and Rachel goes ahead and saves him by using Deckard's gun to kill Leon. So,
Mhm.
Deckard now is in Rachel's debt. They, there's this whole scene where they kind of pick up Zora's body and they look at her one last time. And that's actually really sad. The score, that's where I first really started noticing the musical score for this show.
Mhm.
And because they're kind of wiping the blood away from her face. And it's I don't know, you just feel really bad. And this woman didn't really do anything. She was just running, trying to get away. And she's covered in that weird plastic stuff
Right.
that her coat is. And I don't know, it's just the plot definitely is thickening here because Deckard has, we've been able to neutralize half of them, but there's still two left, I think. Or
So there's still two left. We are going to go back. Rachel obviously came there. She grabbed Deckard's gun and got rid of shot Leon in the back of the head basically as they were kind of fighting. So they're going back to the apartment to get cleaned up a little bit. We're learning a little bit more about Rachel and Deckard. You catch a little glimpse of reflection in Deckard's eye as we're kind of going through this section. It is definitely a blink and you'll miss it kind of a thing, but if you're looking, you'll definitely catch it, which is one of the telltale signs for these replicants. Tyrell has like this manufactured owl that has this glint. All of the other kind of replicants have this glint, and now we've caught just a very very brief shot of that in Deckard too. So spoiler warning there. So we're back at the apartment. We're finding more about them. I don't know. It's a very forceful kind of way that Deckard leans in and gives Rachel a kiss, but they're kind of bonding now over this traumatic shared experience. He's telling her more kind of about replicants and what they are. He's telling her that she has all of these memories, but those aren't really her memories. They're just memories that are given to replicants, so they kind of understand how feelings work and how memories work, and things like that. And then you get kind of this added scene here in the final cut version of Deckard. He is having his Johnnie Walker. He is kind of dozing off, and he is having a dream of a unicorn running through a forest.
yeah, yeah. And it's worth noting that like 5 years later or 4 years after this film was made, Ridley Scott does this really amazing movie about unicorns called Legend. So I don't know if he was just prepping for it or what. Um, but there's a lot of symbolism, with this unicorn. I don't pretend to understand exactly what it is. But when you think about a unicorn, it's a mythical creature. It's not real, but it's something that is, you take a horse, you put a horn on it. And so, I think what it's trying to say, or what his dream is about, is how replicants are this, thing that we all know, like a computer, and then we add something to it like a conscience or like memories that try
Mhm.
to turn it into something else entirely. And then it doesn't quite work. It doesn't really exist very well in the world. And the scene where Rachel, before this moment, Rachel had shown up at Deckard's apartment to fight with him about the fact that now she's figured out that she is the replicant, but she doesn't believe it. And he's trying to
Hmm.
explain to her, hey, the memories that you have, they are somebody else's memories that were implanted in you. You are not real. And then he immediately regrets it because she gets so upset. And so, she's having this awakening of who she is. She saved his life. They have this moment where they kind of kiss, and he basically tells her to tell him that, what she wants. And it's very strange. It's a little, I don't know. It's a little hard
It's
to
very
understand.
so yeah. So watching this was I don't know. It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, because she gets up to leave, and then he, kind of restrains her, and you're thinking it's a little bit assault-ish. But then she relents, and he's like, kiss me, and or tell me to kiss you. And I don't know. I don't understand that part of it. I don't know why he gets so upset at the end, or
Hmm.
maybe it's
Yeah.
not anger, it's just passion, but it doesn't come across as passionate. I don't know. So that's part of it. I don't get it. But they end up spending the
Yeah.
night together. But
Yeah.
Deckard leaves Rachel to sleep in the apartment. She's tired.
That
And he gets out of there to go find the remaining replicants.
that's right. Yeah, we've got two more replicants left. We've got Batty, who's played by Rutger Hauer, and we've got Pre, who's played by Daryl Hannah. And they have taken up kind of residence with this other character by the name of Sebastian, who's played by William Sanderson, who, of course, is uh, Sheriff Bud Dearborn from True Blood, of course, the best sheriff around. That's where we know him from, of course, nowadays. But yeah, he's there. He's kind of like this. I don't know. He pulls up in like some like I don't know like taxi or delivery car when he first finds Pre, but then we go back and we find out he's kind of like this engineer kind of guy who's maybe on the
Yeah.
outs with the Tyrell Corporation. We're not 100% sure what his deal is, but what his deal is for sure is that he makes a bunch of creepy come to life dolls. I don't like it. It's very unsettling. I don't want to be there. I don't want to live there. Batty and Pre, that's a sure sign that you're not a real person because who wants to live there with all these creepy things?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so Sebastian, like, um, he lives in this really strange, like old um hotel too. He lives on like the 37th floor of this hotel. No one else is living there. But it's got
It's kind of awesome, except for the creepy things.
except for the creepy things. I mean, and the fact that it's super run down. I don't know if they have running water. I mean, there's a lot. I have a lot of questions. But they find him because the Batty and Pris are trying to figure out. They need to talk to Eldon Tyrell. They want to understand how much time they have left. They want to understand more about who they are, and they eventually want to assassinate Eldon Tyrell because they feel that he has created these folks, these replicants, and he's destroying them, and that's not right. And
Hmm.
they find Sebastian by going to this replicant eye manufacturing laboratory, and they end up talking to uh, Hannibal Chu, who leads them in the way of this Sebastian character. So we meet along the way, along the journey of the replicants, some people who made parts of their bodies, right? And so
Hmm.
it's interesting in that way because again, when you look at these people, they look like humans, but they have these very machine-made body parts. And so Sebastian, he was an engineer, he was a genetic designer. He's also got a genetic problem within him within his own body because he is going to age faster. And so the makeup that they use on him is really interesting. William Sanderson looks much older than he actually was in 1982. They do a
Hmm.
really good job of like making him look all kind of wrinkly, and they kind of bond. He tends to really like Pris, played by the amazing Daryl Hannah. She's very strange. She loves this weird like raccoon black makeup, like smoky
Hmm.
eye and like very white skin, but she's very nice to Sebastian. And she they kind of bond over the fact that they're both aging at a very increased rate. Her because she's a replicant and she's just going to shut down someday, and him because of this genetic abnormality. And so yeah, it's really weird because he's got all these weird uh toys that are like people, and some of them have wheels, some of them walk, some of them look
Yeah.
look like circus clowns. I mean, it's very strange. But that's where they're hanging out. And Deckard gets to Sebastian's apartment. He is, he gets up to that 37th floor or whatever, trying to find them. And it's a really good, like, horror film scene.
Hmm.
Because Pris is using the fact that there's all these scary creatures to her advantage, and she like just covers herself up with like a sheer sheet and just like stands or sits somewhere and freezes, and so she
Yeah,
looks like a doll, and it's so
exactly.
creepy.
Yeah, it is super creepy. Yeah, so Deckard makes his way to Sebastian's. He's kind of followed his leads there. He has a knockdown drag out with Pre. It is pretty crazy. She is basically beating the crap out of Deckard. It's not going great. She at one point like picks him up by his nostrils, which looks really painful. I think that it looks pretty legit. Like this actually happened. I don't know how they would have faked it. It looks horrible, but he ends up kind of getting the best of Pre as she's doing like this crazy like somersault routine. He gets a shot off and takes care of Pre. But meanwhile, of course, we have Sebastian has taken Batty to Tyrell Corporation to basically confront um, Tyrell. He said, he wants to meet his maker. They have kind of this conversation, which basically, culminates with Batty killing Tyrell. And it's kind of symbolic because he is basically, he's stabbing out his eyeballs with his thumbs, which I thought was kind of symbolic because basically the replicants have these eyes that do this little like flicker thing, which is how kind of the giveaway for how a replicant is different than a person. So I thought that was kind of symbolic way for
Yeah.
him to have killed him. But yeah, so that leaves us with one replicant for Deckard to find, and that is Batty. He's a Tyrell Corporation. Deckard kind of is trying to figure out what to do next. But luckily, Batty's coming back to the safe house, and they're going to have kind of their knockdown drag out in this guy's I don't know, apartment hotel thing that he's living in.
Yeah. And it's really this part, this kind of fight scene, action scene is really interesting because they jump kind of from roof to roof. Um, Roy, because he's, superhuman, I guess he can make the jump with ease, but Deckard, not so much. And I think it's at this point that if you believe that Deckard is also a replicant, that you realize that he also has no knowledge that he is a replicant, because if he knew he was, he probably would be able to make these jumps and be able to hold himself up a little bit differently. I don't know. There's a whole Reddit thread that you can go look
Yeah.
this stuff up on and debate it. But one thing that you do notice is that Roy is starting to have problems with his hands.
Hmm.
He is noticing that his hands are kind of curling in on themselves, and you realize that it's because Roy is getting very close to his end date, and he didn't have a lot of time, and so his body is shutting down, and it's shutting down at a very rapid rate. So there's this, of course, the culminating scene where Deckard is, trying to not die by hanging on the, he's made this
Hmm.
jump. He did not make it. He's hanging on the edge of this, ginormous hotel ledge, and Roy goes ahead and saves him.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right. And Roy goes on to say kind of that famous line that maybe they are more human than human, but he saves his life. And they're kind of at this point, Deckard knows that Roy is shutting down, so they're having kind of this kind of final conversation about you know you're sending us out to do jobs that humans couldn't do. So we've seen things that humans will never see, right? They'll never see, I don't know, some nebula or something. I think that he says, and that's pretty beautiful. And he's like, we've got these memories, but now all of these memories are being washed away just like the rain, because it's very rainy in this movie in 2019. So yeah, it's kind of this like, I don't know, kind of encapsulating ending where you have the replicant and the replicant hunter kind of coming together at this end. And almost you get this feeling that they're having like these shared experiences both right now, and have had these shared experiences in the past. But eventually, of course, obviously, Roy's body does fail, so all the replicant problems are solved. Deckard goes back home, kind of reunites with Rachel. They have kind of their send off there. But as they're getting ready to leave Deckard's apartment, he grabs her coat, and what falls out of it? It's this little origami figure of a unicorn that Gaff has left there in the coat. We've seen Gaff make some origami figures throughout the film, and he leaves a little unicorn, which is the same exact thing that Deckard was having his like dream kind of hallucination about. So how did Gaff know that there was a unicorn involved? We can only surmise that Gaff has been in the know all along about Deckard and having these planted memories, but you'll have to work that one out for yourself as you think about Blade Runner now for the for the rest of your life, trying to make heads or tails of it. But that's basically it. So in the final cut, they basically kind of reworked the ending where everything is just over like this, like I don't know, like darkened out screen, because I think in the original cut it was over like this like happy like like fields of green and stuff, so it's a much more kind of somber feeling at the end,
Yeah.
which was one of the things that really rubbed uh, uh Ridley Scott the wrong way about the changes that they made. So one of the reasons that he wanted to go and revisit this one 100 times to get it just right. But that's Blade Runner in a nutshell. Michaela, did we make any sense of it? I don't know.
I don't know, but my this is my husband's favorite film, one of his favorite films of all time. So I'm sure we will get a critique on how well we covered it. We probably didn't do it justice, and yeah, we're not. We just we love all movies. Okay, so we're this can only be an hour show. We could probably talk about this for hours and hours and hours. I will say this: I thought that rewatching this, because of course I've seen this a lot of times, and
Mhm.
it's this time thinking about it where Gaff knew the whole time makes a lot more sense, because at the beginning he's
Mhm.
really resentful. He's not kind at all to Deckard when he brings him in. And he has that line where, hey, we have no idea how long we have. We don't know how long Rachel has, but that's kind of like everybody. Welcome to humanity, right? And
Mhm.
so at the end, it's almost like Gaff is telling him, go live your life, enjoy it with her, because we don't know how long we have. And maybe that's the thing that binds us all together, whether
Mhm.
we're replicants and or humans. And the fact that we talked about this. We talked about what would be a really good film to do on Labor Day, where we talk about people who do all the real hard labor that, a lot, no one wants to do these things. Um, these beings were created to do the jobs that no one wants to do or physically can do because of
Mhm.
their, in a place that doesn't have oxygen or something, right?
Right.
Um, do those beings, do those things still have value? And it goes to like life. Does life matter? Does all life matter, or does it not? Is it just a chosen few? And
Mhm.
I really do like that part of this film, because no matter what version you look at, it does ask those questions.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And yeah, I agree with you. Kind of rewatching it now, as you kind of, understand, kind of Gaff's role in all of this, because that's one of the things that you don't pick up on your initial viewing, and maybe even kind of viewings after. But if you've seen it a couple of times, everywhere that Deckard go, basically, Gaff is also there. Gaff it doesn't try to help or interfere in any way. He's just kind of observing what Deckard is doing, which leads you to believe that Gaff is kind of in on this, right? That the best person at hunting replicants would be another replicant, which makes a lot of sense, right? And like you'd said, it's a job that maybe they had to design people that could be really good at doing these things or could do these things at all. Period. So, Blade Runner, it's really good. We talked a little bit about it at the top. It didn't really get the kind of acclaim that it deserved until after the fact, which is kind of par for the course for things that are really genius, because at the time that they come out, you don't really understand how genius they are, or they're so different, or so kind of shift like the scale of what things are or can be at the time, until you have a little bit of time on the backside of it. But I mean, this inspired and changed what science fiction kind of looked like for a long time. We just talked a couple weeks back about the Fifth Element and the city of the Fifth Element. looks exactly like a like a more glossed version of what
Absolutely.
2019 LA did. I mean, even from the skyscrapers and the big huge like Coca-Cola like moving digital billboards, that is like ripped like one for one out of Blade
Yep.
Runner.
Absolutely. It's so interesting too because there's so many films that I like. I mean, we talk about Blade Runner a lot in our household because it's my husband's favorite film, right? But when we look at stuff that I like that's not Blade Runner, it's amazing when we pick it apart and we see that it can be traced back, perhaps without even meaning to this film, because the everything from the cars to the scene, like I said, the scene where you lower the shades. There's a couple of other famous movies that have a very similar scene,
Hmm.
where you have that cityscape that's and the light changes and how that light bounces off of the people in the room and all of that. I don't know if that was a Blade Runner thing that was just uh, inspiring to others, but it sure looks cool. And that's, I've not seen it since done as well. So
Yeah.
for sure, I think that it's one of those that grows, which is, in the love that people have for it, which is probably why they decided to go ahead and try and do a sequel. The sequel, Blade Runner 2049, did not do nearly as well, I don't think. I think it was kind of panned. But they really wanted to give a good ending to whatever happened to Deckard and Rachel, because it's very open ended where they're going to be together, but you don't really know how long they have. You don't know if anybody's going to be going after them. You
Hmm.
don't think that Gaff is going to, because he left the origami unicorn, but you don't know if they're going to be left alone in peace or not, right?
Yeah, and one other thing I wanted to kind of hit on here real quick. So obviously, this is Ridley Scott. It came out in 1982, which was just 3 years after Alien, which we've also covered here on the podcast. But one of the kind of the driving things about Alien is just that the spaceship is kind of like visceral and how much life and sound and things that it has, and the world of Blade Runner is very similar in that way to. I think it's very it's very visceral. It has a lot of its own feeling, and it plays a huge part kind of in how the story is told and unravels. And I think that that was just kind of where Ridley Scott would have been at, kind of in that kind of period of his movie making, where really kind of the atmospheric portion of the film was as important as kind of the rest of the film and setting the tone. And I think that that's something that's carried through to a lot of filmmakers today. So have stuff like Blade Runner to thank for that too. But that is Blade Runner in a nutshell. Like I said, there's a ton of stuff that we kind of didn't really skip over, but skimmed over, and a lot of good sort of iconography and stuff like that. So let us know at home if you have seen Blade Runner, kind of what your favorite kind of little like Easter egg foreshadowy bits are. Let us know all of that stuff. Let us know what your favorite cut of Blade Runner is. Let us know if you saw Blade Runner 2049. And most importantly, let us know if you made any of the 4 Blade Runner cocktails that we whipped up for you this week, because they were delicious, they were beautiful, and we want to see all of your pictures. Now, if you want to see pictures of the ones that we made, episode recaps, all of that good stuff, you can do that on our Instagram and Twitter. It is at Drink the Movies, and on Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to get the episode recaps, all that good stuff, you can do that on our website, which is www.drinkthemovies.com. Go there because the pictures are gorgeous, and make sure you get subscribed and leave us reviews, because that helps us get Drink the Movies out there. So, Michaela, where can they find the podcast?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on Good Pods, anywhere and everywhere that supports Anchor podcasts. We are there. We are ready with 2 drops a week for your hearing pleasure. We love the community that we've been building. We're so excited. We had the best 2 weeks ever, the last 2 weeks. So I think we're doing something right, which is nice. Or like my grandmother or my grand's listening to this 700 times. I don't know. But we are really excited. Please leave us a 5-star review. Subscribe if you're liking what you're hearing, because it helps us get all the Drink the Movie stuff out there.
That's right, absolutely. And if you do leave us a review, we will definitely read it on the air. Like someone just left us a review. His name is Tony Wood. Oh no, wait, that's Anthony Wood. It says Brian and Michaela give insightful and intelligent reviews of films in an entertaining manner. I love the cocktails they find to accompany the films and also enjoy the lobby bar sessions too. We may have pandered for that one because Anthony might be married to one of the co-hosts of Drink the Movies, and we were talking about his favorite movie, and he does generally get to drink all the cocktails with us. So thank you, Anthony, for that review. I hope we did this episode justice for you. And, Michaela, Blade Runner, it's done. I just looked it up. The cinematographer for Blade Runner also was the cinematographer for Peggy Sue Got Married. So I guess we have good taste when it comes to how movies look. So I don't know. I don't even know where to go with that. But you know what I do need is some more Johnnie Walker.
Yeah. Well, we've got 4 cocktails for you to choose from. I'm personally gonna make another Deckard because the matcha is amazing and strange, and who doesn't need more star anise in their life. So but I'll make you any of the 4 that we've done you'd like.
That's right. That is our test for if we're replicant or not. So we're going to go mix up one of those. We will pick out another movie for next week. We're probably going to have to go with something a little brighter, maybe something in the troll universe. So we'll do that, and we will talk to everyone next time on
Drink
Drink
the
the
movies.
Movies. Do androids dream of electric sheep?